Your hunger, it doesn't exist in a vacuum. It doesn't. It is not separate from your life. It is not separate from your stress. It is not separate from your emotions, your sleep, your hormones, your emotional and mental load. Your hunger changing does not mean that you are out of control or that something's wrong with you or that you're going backwards. It just means that you're human and you're connecting more to your humanness, which is so beautiful. Hello and welcome to another new episode of Emotional Eating Unwrapped. I'm Alana Kessler, and you know that feeling when you think you finally have food figured out, and then suddenly 1 week later, or maybe even less than 1 week, you just don't. Like 1 week you're fine, you feel like you are eating normally, everything feels good. You're not obsessing. You're not thinking about food in this kind of urgent, way where you feel like it has power over you, right? You're not thinking about food that way. And then the next minute, the next week, the next day, whatever it is for you, you're hungrier, right? You feel hungry like all of the time. You're snacking more, you're grazing more. Maybe you're finding yourself moseying on over into the kitchen at night more, right? Food is it's in your sphere. And maybe even cravings feel a little bit more intense than they did the week before. And you're thinking to yourself, what is going on with me? Like, you are personalizing this. You're like, what is wrong with me? And I know what your brain does in that moment because mine used to do the same exact thing, right? It doesn't say, right? It doesn't immediately go into like, oh, this is an interesting sensation. Something must have changed in my life, right? Instead, it says, here we go again, or I knew this wouldn't last, right? I knew this feeling of peace around food wouldn't last. And for some of us, it even says like, yep, I'm losing control. I knew it. The other shoe's dropping. I'm losing control. So I want to speak about this today. I want to talk to this experience that you might be having today because your hunger changing week to week, it's truly not personal. It's not a character flaw. It's not personal. It's not a discipline issue. And it's definitely not proof that you are going backwards. 100% not. And I want to just today through this episode, through what I'm going to talk about, I want you to actually realize that this is your body doing exactly what it is supposed to do. So buckle up. But if you are new to me, I want to introduce myself. As I said, my name is Alana Kessler. I am a registered dietitian. I have been in this health and mindfulness wellness space for 20 plus years. I've done all the things, clinical and functional private practice, worked in hospitals. I've been practicing yoga and mindfulness and meditation for 25 plus years. But my passion is really helping women and men and all people really find love with their body, right? Lose weight if that's something that you want to do, reconnect with yourself, overcome any kind of emotional or addictive behaviors with food, and really just connect to your self-value and live your best life. So if you are here and you are new, welcome. I'm so happy to have you. All right. So let's get back to hunger. And here's the thing I want you to hear and really, really let it land. Your hunger, it doesn't exist in a vacuum. It doesn't. It is not separate from your life. It is not separate from your stress. It is not separate from your emotions, your sleep, your hormones, your emotional and mental load, right? It's not separate from that. Okay. It might feel like it's separate from that. It might feel like it's just coming from your stomach, but it's not, right? Some weeks life is lighter. Some weeks life is heavier, and your hunger, it follows that. So if you had an intense week where you slept poorly, or work was intense, or you got into an argument, or something happened that created a heightened reaction in your nervous system, or you were emotionally holding a lot, Or if you're a woman, if your cycle shifted, or if you're going through perimenopause or menopause, or you were just more on than usual in your life, of course your hunger changed. Of course. And it's not because of you, actually. It's not because you're weak or you lost control. It's because your body was communicating with you. It needed more support. See, we've been taught to see hunger as something that should stay the same all the time, right? We've even learned over this culture of, this diet culture to fear the sensation of hunger, right? And so therefore, when hunger doesn't feel the same all the time and it transforms in reaction and response to what's going on in our lives, we panic. But our bodies aren't designed to be flat and predictable. They're designed to respond to your life. And something else that really matters here, and this is really big, like I mentioned, when you actually start healing your relationship to food, especially if you've been influenced by diet culture, if you've participated and engaged in diet culture where you have feared your appetite, you have feared the sensation of hunger, you have perhaps restricted or ignored your hunger intentionally. What happens is that your body eventually stops asking, which actually is another definition of slowing your metabolism. Okay, that is another definition. When your body stops giving you hunger signals, your metabolism is slowing down. Believe me, it's not because you don't need food, but it's because the higher intelligence of your body signaling knows that you're not going to listen, so kind of just stopped asking, right? So when you finally decide to reconnect with yourself, with your body, heal your relationship with food, right? When you stop controlling every bite, when you stop telling yourself you shouldn't be hungry, or you think that hunger is somehow some sort of fearful sensation, right? When you stop doing this, your hunger does get louder at first. It does get louder at first. And that can be scary. So I really want to validate that for you. That is something I hear from so many of my clients, is just the lack of familiarity with hunger cues can feel really scary at first. It's like learning how to drive, right? And a lot of women, a lot of people think, I'm doing something wrong, I'm going backwards, if the physical sensation of hunger, the mental thoughts about food feel a little bit more in the foreground of your day-to-day than they were before, right? But what's actually happening, though, is you're getting back online with your body, right? This is not chaos at all, right? It's your body saying, it's your body checking in. It's your body saying, hey, it seems like you're going in this new direction. Can I trust you? Right? If I give you the signals and I, call you on the phone with my hunger cues and I tell you that I'm hungry, how will you respond to me? That's what's really happening now, right? It's like when your foot falls asleep and then it starts tingling again as it wakes up, right? I want you to think about that, right? The sensation at first, it feels so intense, but that's a sign of blood circulation returning. That is the sign of blood circulation returning. And what do? We kind of are like, oh my God, this is intense, but we ride it out. Hunger is the same way, right? Your hunger coming back, your cues coming back, they're just going to feel a little more intense at first until you reconcile, until you reconnect with them. And that is completely, completely normal. Okay, before I go into the next point that I want to make, which is not all hunger is about food, I just want to ask you to make sure that if you are listening to this and you get value out of this podcast, to please just give us a like and a subscribe on YouTube, as well as a follow, a subscribe on Spotify and on Apple if you haven't yet. Because you know what? When you listen to this podcast and you give us these ratings and these reviews on Apple, on Spotify, you like us on YouTube, you subscribe there, it helps us with the algorithm. It helps us find more people that this podcast can help. So if you are getting benefit out of this podcast, please go ahead and do that. And also as a bonus, if you leave us a rating and a review on Apple, 5 stars, then you can win a one-on-one with me. If you send us a screenshot of that review to Be Well by AK on Instagram, or you email us podcast@bewellbyak.com, you can win a free one-on-one session with me. You could be entered into the giveaway, the monthly giveaway for that. So all good things, right? More people find us. You could win a free one-on-one session. I mean, only good things with that. All right. Now let's talk about the part that gets misunderstood about hunger, which is that it's really about food, which it's not, right? Sometimes it's your body saying, I need more energy. Sometimes it's saying, I need ease, right? It's not always about food itself. Okay. When you get the sensation of hunger, whether it's emotional, right? Especially if the hunger that you're feeling is less physical, more emotional, this is what it's about. And it can be hard to discern physical hunger from emotional hunger when you are first coming back online with your hunger cues. Okay, so I want to give you a little bit of tangible, sensational ways to know if your hunger is physical. So if your hunger is physical, you are going to feel low energy. You're going to feel foggy, shaky, or just empty, right? And in this scenario, you're going to find that it sounds fine. All food helps, right? All food helps. That's really the truth, right? You're not going to have this urgency around any food or this feeling of like compulsion, or it's not going to have a craving energy. It's going to feel more like, all right, I was trying to get some food in my body. You don't want to wait till you're super hungry or the sensations are super strong sometimes, because sometimes that can influence your decision making. And that's a different thing. So, but usually when you're physically hungry, it's not about preoccupation with food. It's more about, getting some food into your body so you can, get more energy. But then there's the other kind of hunger, the kind that I think we're talking more about here, which is the one that's like, it feels like it is a monster rising up inside you, right? The kind that hits at night, that intrusive thoughts, preoccupied thoughts in your brain, right? That might come, after a long day, when you're alone, when you finally get yourself into a stillness setting, or you finally are still with your body. And for this, the hunger isn't about fuel. It's not about energy. It's not about giving yourself, nutrients or nourishment. It's not even an intentional anticipatory, right? Because I don't think that food always needs to be about being starving, right? Or being hungry for it. Sometimes you can definitely want something for pleasure. And I think that is super important. You've built a good life. From the outside, it looks like you have it all together. You eat clean, you work hard, you take care of everyone. But there's this one area that still feels impossible to master, and that is food. You can eat perfectly all day and still end up in the kitchen at night wondering why you keep doing this. You promise yourself you'll start fresh tomorrow, and I know you mean it every single time. But the cycle, it always finds its way back, especially when you're stressed, when you're overwhelmed, or when you're just tired of being the one that's holding it all together. And I get it because I lived that way for years. And what I learned is this. The problem, it was never about food. It was the pressure underneath it, the perfectionism, the self-doubt, the part of me that never felt safe and secure to just be me. And that's why I created the sober eating sequence. It's a proven 3-phase method that rewires the emotional patterns and the belief systems driving overeating so you can relax, trust yourself around food, and release weight completely naturally, without force and without obsession. Because when your body feels secure, it lets go. The cravings quiet, the self-punishment, it softens, and food, it stops being the thing that you have to fix. This is not another plan. This isn't another rule book. It's a revolutionary transformation for your nervous system, for your body, and for your identity. So join the sober eating movement today. What we're talking about here specifically is when the confusion that I get with people sometimes when they were like, but I was super hungry. And I was like, I don't think you were physically hungry. I think you were emotionally hungry. And this hunger that I'm talking about is not about pleasure or fuel. It's about relief. Okay. It's your body saying, I've been holding it together all day. I can't do this anymore. I've been absorbing so many people's emotions. I've been sacrificing my own needs. I can't do this anymore. And food in your brain is the easiest way to come down. And it's a substance that, you're familiar with and is going to give you that, or, it's going to give you that immediate kind of quick hit sense of relief. Okay. And so when these thoughts are coming into your mind, this isn't about you. This isn't about your lack of anything, really. It just usually means that your nervous system is overwhelmed and you are feeling quote unquote hungry, but it's emotionally hungry. It's not physically hungry, and it's not intentional pleasure from food, right? It's a distraction, relief, soothing hunger that is coming from an emotional place. And it's reaching for food. Okay. And so this is why I don't want you to panic when your hunger shifts, right? I don't want you to panic when your hunger shifts or when you start to feel this hunger more, right? I want you to start to bring some curiosity to this. So instead of getting scared or feeling like you're losing control and asking, how do I stop this? I want you to start asking yourself, what do I need right now? Do I need energy? Do I need ease? Right? And sometimes the answer is food. Sometimes it is, right? I say this all the time. Healing from emotional eating is not never emotional eating. Okay, I know it sounds kind of weird, right? It's like you're all about healing emotional eating, but I'm talking about healing emotional overeating and binging as a destructive behavior pattern to get yourself to a place where you feel so overfull, so overstuffed, so numb. That's what we're healing, right? We're healing that kind of addict behavior where you get to a place where you just feel nothing, right? You put yourself in a position where you feel nothing. And that's what we don't want. However, sometimes, and this takes training, this takes, can take a couple of months sometimes for people to do. I know with my clients, when I train them and we work together to rewire their patterns and their relationship with food so that they can, when this type of emotional hunger comes, if they feel like they do want to engage with food in this way, they can in a self-serving way. Okay. Because sometimes it can be food, right? It definitely is food if you're physically hungry. But when you're emotionally hungry too, it's not, you're not failing. You're not, not healed if you end up turning to food sometimes and, having that little snack or having that little, whatever it is that you want to have. For me, it's like a cheese stick. For me, it's like a yasso bar. For me, it's like a little snacks that I have around the house for the purpose of when I feel this emotional hunger and I kind of know that food is what I want to have, I can do it with boundaries. And this is what we want to do. This is how we want to be able to do it. But first you want to ask the question, right? What is it that you need? right? Sometimes it isn't food. Sometimes when you ask the questions deeper, you really need space. Maybe you need honesty. Maybe you need support. Maybe you need to have a conversation, right? Sometimes it's a mix of all the things. The goal here isn't to get rid of hunger. The goal is to create a conversation with the hunger so that you can learn more about your own self and your own needs through the sensation of the hunger that you're feeling. Okay, so here's what I want you to remember for today, right? Your hunger changing does not mean that you are out of control or that something's wrong with you or that you're going backwards. It just means that you're human and you're connecting more to your humanness, which is so beautiful, right? It's adjusting to your life. And the more that you listen to your body, the more that you open up the lines of communication with this really intelligent part of your body, the more you stop fearing hunger, the more you stop making hunger something about your worth or your ability to be disciplined or your ability to reach your goals, and the more stable everything becomes, right? The less extreme everything becomes. Your eating evens out, right? Your cravings usually soften, right? You might still have cravings. And like I said, that can be okay sometimes, right? Your weight usually releases because, you're not engaging in this all or nothing way with your hunger anymore. Your nervous system definitely calms down because you're giving your nervous system the nourishment that it needs in a way that your nervous system can learn to trust you, right? Your nervous system trusts you and you're not forcing anything and you're not fighting yourself, which is so, so great because this is building your freedom. This is building your food freedom. This is building your body confidence. This is what it is. This is the work. This is the building blocks. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. And if you guys listened to our Q&A episode, which we released either last week or the week before, it was so great because we actually got some questions from listeners. We have a link in our show notes called SpeakPipe. And in SpeakPipe, you can send us an anonymous voice note with your question that we will answer live on the podcast, totally anonymous. Your name will not be mentioned, but we will take your question and we will answer your question on the podcast. So if you are interested in that, you can leave us a voice note there with your question and Brittany and I will answer, and it will be so great. So if that's something that's interesting to you, that would be amazing. And I will see you next time. So thank you so much for listening to another episode of Emotional Eating Unwrapped.